Okay.
Ariom, let us start. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshal, Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri, Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri, Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri, Gurave Namaha. Om Sindhurarunavigraham Trinayanam Manikya Taranayakashekaram Smidamukhi Mabhinavakshoruham Padibhyam Alipurnaratnachashakam Rattotpalam Vibratim Saumyam Ratnagadastaraktacharanam Dhyayet Paramambikam ध्यायेत् पद्मासनस्तां विकसितवदनां पद्मपत्राय दाक्षीं हेमाभां पीतवस्त्रां करकलितलसत् हेमपद्मां वराङ्गीं सर्वालङ्कारयुक्तां सततमवयदां भक्तनम्रां भवानीं श्रीविद्यां शान्तमूर्तिं सकलसुरनुदां सर्वसम्पत्प्रदात्रीं सकुङ्कुमविलेपनामलिकचुम्बिकस्तूरिकां समन्दादिदेक्षणां ससरापपाशाङ्कुशाम् अशेषजनमोहिनीमरुणमाल्यभूषोज्ज्वलां जवाकुसुमवासुरां जपविदौ स्मरेदम्बिकाम् अरुणां करुणातरङ्गिताक्षीं धृतपाशाङ्कुशपुष्पबाणचापाम् अणिमादिविरावृतां मयोगैः अहमित्येव विभावये महेशी ॐ पराशक्ति नमः ॐ पराशक्ति नमः ॐ पराशक्ति नमः. So today we are going to cover from 781 till 795. Let us start. Om Pratyagrupaye Namaha, Om Paragashaya Namaha, Om Pranadaye Namaha, Om Pranarupinye Namaha, Om Martandabhairavaraധ്യായേ Namaha, Om Mandrininyastrajadre Namaha, Om Tripureshyai Namaha, Om Jayalsenaye Namaha, Om Nistraigunyaye Namaha, Om Paraparaye Namaha, Om Satyajnanandarupaye Namaha, Om Samarasya Parayanaye Namaha, Om Kapardinye Namaha, Om Kalamalaye Namaha, Om Kamadukhe Namaha. So let us start with the first name, which is Om Pratyagrupaye Namaha. So that word Pratyagrupa can be split as Pratyag, which basically means inward looking, and Rupa is referring to the form. So what this name refers to, Devi's name, Lalitha Tripura Sundari's name, is that she is an inward turning or inward looking Devi. She is the indwelling self. Now there is a concept or a word called as Pratyag Atma. Pratyag Atma is referring to the Jivatma, which is referring to Devi's form. That is, Pratyag Atma is Jivatma. Jivatma is an amsham of Devi, which is Paramatma, and therefore that is also Devi's form. So Pratyagatma is the Jivatma, which is in turn is referring to Devi. So it does not make sense for us to look outwards. So this is something we have always covered, that we don't need to look or search for Devi outside, but we have to look for Devi within ourselves. So Amma has an explanation to this. Mata Amrita Anandamayi has an explanation to this, saying that searching for God outside is like thinking that you can catch fish by drying up the sea. It is like catching fish by drying up the sea. That is not going to happen. So what we need to do is look for God, look within us, and there should be that urge, that frantic nature for us to find God within him, just like a man who is inside water is frantic for air. So just like somebody who is inside water gasping for air, similarly, we should also look inwards and try to find God within us. So God exists, he will be found, but not without effort. So effort is the most important aspect, and Mata Amritanandamayi refers to. If we need to look for God, we have to look inwards and we have to look very hard, and that is the only way that we can find the Lord within us. So Devi's form is sought and found only by looking inwards. So the Brahman created the senses, and how are these senses? These senses are outward looking. These senses are outward looking. You can say that this is part of Devi's Leela. And what is Devi's Leela? It is making sure that it is outward looking so that you start looking outward. And what is her objective? Once you start looking outward, Devi wants you to stop looking outward and start looking inward. So a wise man with eyes averted from sensual objects, desirous of immortality, sees the Atman within. So if the person is desirous of growing spiritually, the only way that growth can be achieved is by looking inward, stopping or controlling the external senses and starting to look inward. So this is what this says. This is part of Katha Upanishad. Okay. 782. Paragasha. So she who is the transcendental ether, which is the material cause of the cosmic and individual bodies. The name is Om Paragashayai Namaha. So she is the transcendental ether. So ether, which is Akasha, is the first of the Mahabhutas. Okay. So the what is meant by this is that before creation, even before physical space, Devi existed as Akasha. So she is the substratum for the entire universe. So this is what this is referring to in this particular name. Akasha is referring to the Brahman, and Devi is the supreme Brahman. So that is what this is referring to. So all beings arise from this same Akasha. Devi is called Akasha. She is the controlling beginless power, and therefore she is the person who is responsible for all forms of creation. Now when we look at Akasha, Akasha in reality is colorless, but there is a lot of color in the sky, depending on the way the sun's rays move, depending on whether there is whether there are droplets in the air. Depending on that, the color of the sky can be a different shade of orange, can be a shade of red. There can be different, or if there are there are rain clouds, it can be a dark shade. If there's a clear sky, it can be blue. But in reality, Akasha is colorless. So that is the truth as far as Akasha is concerned. So just like ether is pure and unstained, the real form of ether, which is the Akasha, is pure and unstained. Devi is also untouched and is pure. So that is what this particular name refers to. So Devi's form is attributeless, untainted, and all pervasive. So these are the three aspects. She is attributeless, she is untainted, and she is all pervasive. So that is the aspects as far as Akasha is concerned, and all these aspects apply to Lalitha Tripura Sundari Devi as well. Now there is a further interpretation or a meaning of this name, which is Paragasha, which basically is that in Swachanda Sangraha, they say that there is a place called Dvanda Shanta. So next to it, this is above the forehead. This is above the forehead. There is a place called the Dvanda Shanta. Next to the top front portion of the skull, inside within 2 fingers of the front, that area is called as Paragasha. That is also another interpretation of the name Paragasha. There is a further interpretation that Paragasha is the space beyond the 7 seas, and Devi is a person who is residing beyond the 7 seas, which also implies that it is very difficult to get across to Devi. You can't very easily get to experience Devi. To experience Devi, you have to work really hard. Now there is a further splitting of the name, which is Paraka and Asha. Paraka basically means hard and laborious, and Asha means direction. So Devi is one to be reached through a difficult path. You can split the name as Para, Aka, and Asha. You get she who eats. Para means great, Aka means sin, and Asha is one who eats. So she is the person who eats or removes even the most severe sins. So that is also another perspective of this name Paragasha. Om Paragashaye Namaha. 783. Om Pranadaye Namaha. She is the controller of the Pancha Pranas. She Pranada. Da is meaning giving. So she is the giver of Prana. Prana is the root cause of life. Without Prana, there is no life. So everything that is living has got Prana Shakti, and that Prana Shakti is being given by Devi. So she is the controller of the 5 Pancha Pranas and the 11 organs. And what she does, she is the person who controls all the Pancha Pranas and the 11 organs. Prana is Brahman. Devi is the giver of this extreme knowledge called the Brahman. And the Upanishad, the Kaushitaki Upanishad says, I am Prana, I am consciousness, worship me as life and immortality. So this is what is referred to, Devi is referred to in this particular name. 784. Om Prana Rupinyai Namaha. Now, Prana Rupinyai, she is not just the giver of this prana or the person who controls prana, she is the form of prana, she is the nature of prana. Now, Rupini, Prana Rupini basically means she is the form. But how can you give a form to a formless aspect? So therefore, the form is not what is actually meant. What is meant here is that Devi is the nature of Brahman. Brahman is prana, and therefore Devi is in the nature of that particular aspect, which is called Prana Rupini. Okay. Now prana is Brahman, bliss is Brahman, Akasha is also Brahman. So the same, in fact, in Manusmriti, there is a reference to Brahman, and Brahman is called fire. Some others call it Manu, Prajapati, Indra, Prana, and the eternal Brahman. So in Manusmriti also there is a reference to Prana as the same Brahman. There is a further reference to this name which is in the Nitya Tantra. Nitya Tantra, you have the Nitya, the 16 Nitya deities. All these Nitya deities are also called as Pranas. So therefore she is Prana Rupini. So they say that the planets and stars move according to the Prana, the breath of these deities. And Devi is in the center of all these Nitya deities. Therefore, she is called Prana Rupini. She is at the center of these Nitya deities, the 16 deities which are there. 785 Om Marthanda Bhairavaradhyaye Namaha. Om Marthanda Bhairava Aradhyaye Namaha. So Marthanda is referring to Lord Shiva. Marthanda is referring to Lord Shiva. Bhairava, Marthanda is referring to a form of Devi, and Bhairava is referring to Shiva, which is a fierce form of Shiva. Now there is a further, the meaning of this is Marthanda Bhairava Aradhya. Aradhya basically means she is worshipped by Marthanda Bhairava. Marthanda Bhairava is a Deva. Together you look at Marthanda Bhairava as one name. Marthanda Bhairava is a Deva, and that Deva is residing between the 22nd and 23rd walls of the Sri Chakra. If you remember, the Sri Chakra has got several walls. In order to get in between the 22nd and the 23rd walls of the Sri Chakra, Marthanda Bhairava is a Deva. So the Lalita Stavaratna states that this particular Deva is decked with the jeweled crown and sporting with his wife. His wife's name is Chaya. Chaya is the energy that supplies light to the eye. So, and because so this is what this particular name, why Chaya is given to the name of this energy that supplies light. Chaya basically means reflection, and because it means reflection, that is the apt name for this wife who is responsible for the light to the eye. So that is what this particular aspect is also referred to. Then there is a further aspect which is Tantra Chintamani, says that Shiva incarnated as Mallari or Marthanda Bhairava to kill the demon Manimalla. The present mantra, this means that Devi is worshipped by Shiva in that form as Marthanda Bhairava. So Devi is worshipped by both Marthanda and Bhairava. That is a further perspective. Marthanda here refers to the sun. Yeah, that is actually the correct name. That it is my mistake. It is not Devi, it is the sun. So Marthanda is referring to the sun, and Bhairava is referring to the Brahmachari or another form of Lord Shiva. There is a further aspect of Bhairava, which is a group of Shakti worshippers, and they are called as Bhairavas. So they believe that once you die, you can ascend your to heaven with the earthly body intact. So that is a group of people, a group of Shakti worshippers known as Bhairavas, who believe it is possible to ascend to heaven with the earthly body intact. How is that possible? That is possible only with extreme willpower and bhakti. Without the willpower, without the bhakti, it is impossible to reach that particular stage. Worshippers of the sun, they are also called as Bhairavas, and Devi is the object of their worship. So there is a perspective of this Marthanda Bhairava. Marthanda Bhairava is the deity, who guards the Anahata Chakra. The deity who is guarding this Anahata Chakra, and he worships Devi. She is the Lord over the light, heat and destruction. She is the Lord of the sun, and therefore she is the Lord over light, heat and destruction. So that is another perspective of Marthanda Bhairava. 786 Om Mandrini Nyasta Rajyaduhu. Om Mandrini Nyasta Rajyadure Namaha. The name is Mandrini Nyasta Rajyaduhu. So Mandrini is referring to goddess Matangi or Shyamalamba. That is the prime minister in the court of Lalitha Tripura Sundari Devi, Matangi. That is Mantrini. She is the prime minister. Nyasta means she is entrusted. Rajya, which means referring to the kingdom. Duhu, which is referring to the responsibility. So she has been entrusted she is entrusted the regal responsibilities to her Mantrini. All the regal responsibilities have been given to this Mantrini. Now, Varahi is the commander in chief of the armies. She is the commander in chief of the armies. And Mantrini is the prime minister. She is the person responsible, which is referring to Matangi or Shyamalamba. So, the responsibility of governing is given to this Shamala Devi. Now, what does this refer to? Devi is supremely free. She is undergoing and she is enjoying supreme divine freedom. She is entrusted everything to Matangi Devi and she is indulging in her leelas. She is doing all her cosmic sports. So that is what she is indulging in. So that is another perspective of so it refers also in the modern world to the fact that you need to have a trusted person to whom you can give all these responsibilities as well, and that is when that you can go ahead and do other things. Now we are not doing cosmic leela out here. What we are doing is looking to grow our other activities. For doing that, we have to ensure that the right people are there in the right places. Now there is another perspective, which is the fact that Mantrini is there is another meaning in one who has the mantra. Somebody who has the mantra is called as Mantrini. So all the responsibilities are entrusted to the devotee who worships Devi using her mantra. So there is a sound perspective as well, which is the power of sound. So Mantrini represents the power of all speech and all mantras. When that mantra is chanted by the devotee with complete faith, then that is when Devi sits up and listens, and she is completely bound by the faith of the sound of the mantras of Devi. So the regal responsibility is the secret of sadhana that brings the worshipper closer to Devi. The more you worship Devi, the more those sounds are heard from our voices to Devi. That is when Devi is going to be pleased, and she is bound to those devotees who chant her name. So this is what this particular name refers to. We'll go to 787. Om Tripureshye Namaha. This we have done something similar, in fact, earlier in one of the earlier names. So she is the goddess of Tripura. Tripura means Tripura Ishi, which is there are 3 cities. She is the goddess of these 3 cities. Now there are several aspects of this. The first one is that this 3 cities is not necessarily the 3 cities. It is referring to the 3 states of consciousness. It is referring to the 3 worlds. It is referring to the 3 bodies, with Sthula, Sukshma and Karana, referring to the 3 nadis, Ida, Pingala and Sushumna. It is referring to the Trigunas as well. So these are the several aspects of what do you call it? Of the three aspects of what is called as Tripureshi. Now, within the Sri Chakra, you have several chakras. So each of these chakras have a presiding deity. So Devi is the presiding deity of all of these chakras. So we'll just quickly run through all the chakras. The first chakra is Trailokya Mohana Chakra, which means the chakra that deludes the 3 worlds, and the presiding deity for this chakra is Tripura. Yeah, and this chakra, this deity governs the physical world and the 10 senses, tames worldly desires, to prepare the mind for inner meditation. Then the next chakra is Sarvasha Paripuraka Chakra, the wheel that fulfills all desires, and the presiding deity is Tripureshi, which is this name of Devi. This presiding deity is Tripureshi. So Tripureshi is the presiding deity of the Sarvasha Paripuraka Chakra. And the spiritual purpose is it purifies the 16 inner faculties, the 5 elements, 10 senses, and the mind to transform material desires into spiritual energy. The next chakra is Sarva Samshobhana Chakra, which is the wheel that agitates all, balances speech, action, pleasure, and emotional fluctuations by mastering the ego and intellect. The presiding deity is Tripura Sundari. The next one is Sarva Saubhagyadayaka Chakra. Sarva Saubhagyadaya Chakra bestows all auspiciousness, activates the 14 primary energy channels or the nadis in the human body to bring spiritual prosperity. The deity is Tripura Vasini. Then you have Sarvartra Sadhaka Chakra. So this chakra, it accomplishes all purposes, purifies the 10 life force breaths, the pranas, and to help the seeker achieve their ultimate spiritual goal. The deity is Tripura Shri. Then the next one is Sarva Rakshakara Chakra. The wheel of all protection clears the inner mental obstacles, protection from negative illusions, and ignites the fire of inner wisdom. The deity is Tripura Malini. The next one is Sarva Roga Hara Chakra. The heals the fundamental disease of spiritual ignorance and the illusion of being separate from the divine. And this wheel destroys all diseases. The Devi here is Tripura Siddha. The next one is Sarva Siddhimaya Chakra, where the objective is the union of Shiva and Shakti, granting ultimate spiritual powers. The wheel consisting of all attainments. The presiding deity is Tripuramba. And the final chakra is Sarvanandamaya Chakra, where it is the state of total liberation, absolute bliss, and oneness with the Supreme Source, the wheel of unalloyed bliss. And the presiding deity is Mahatripura Sundari. So everywhere you have Tripura, Tripureshi, you have Tripuramba, Mahatripura Sundari, Tripura Siddha, Tripura Malini, Tripura Shri, Tripura Vasini, Tripura Sundari, Tripureshi, and Tripura. All these, the Devi is there. If you go into the Sri Chakra, Devi is there in all the chakras. Devi is present as one of the deities. So, 788. Om Jayat Senayai Namaha. The name is Jayat Sena. Jayat basically means victorious. So she has an army which is accustomed only to victory. Devi cannot be defeated. Only victory is there. So Devi's army was victorious over Bhandasura. It is an army that has never known defeat. Also, Jayat Sena, there is a king who was Devi's devotee. As Devi is not any different from her devotees. So when from that perspective, she is not different from Jayat Sena, and she is known by the name of her devotee. Which brings me also to think of Lord Krishna and all the gopis who are there around Lord Krishna. Say that it is, if you are praying not just to Krishna but to the devotees, to the gopis, and to the feet of the gopis, and to the dust of the feet of the gopis, that is enough for moksha. The dust of the feet of the gopis, that is enough. That itself is good enough for all of us. So basically, when it comes to the devotees, Lord will ensure that the devotees are taken care, whether it is Devi or Lord Krishna, or whichever form that or spiritual form that you want to follow. Remember that if there is complete and total surrender to that form, you can be sure that you will be protected. Devi will take care of you, or Lord Krishna will take care of you. Surrender, that is the key and most important aspect of this. 789. Om Nistraigunyaye Namaha. Traigunya is the three gunas. Nistraigunya, she is devoid of the three gunas. So we know that Maya is made up of the three gunas. Devi is beyond Maya. She is well beyond Maya and transcends the gunas. So man cannot transcend. Suppose you have body consciousness. When you have this concept of body consciousness, then you are believing in duality. When that duality is there, you cannot transcend the gunas. And without transcending the gunas, you will not be able to worship power that is nirguna or free from all attributes. It is only possible when you outgrow body sense. So somebody is bound by samsara and claims to worship a god that is formless. It is like claiming to swim in a waterless lake. So that is the equivalent. Yeah. So Devi is described as somebody beyond gunas because she is pure consciousness. She is extreme bliss. 790. Om Paraparaye Namaha. Now, para and apara. She is both para as well as apara. Para basically means beyond, highest, supreme, and apara is the exact opposite of that. So she is both para and apara. She is both supreme spiritual reality and the material world as well. So para is the highest aspect, is the most superior perspective, and apara is the inferior perspective. Para is great, apara is little. Para is truth, apara is myth. Devi is both these opposites at the same time. So to a samsarin, a person who is body conscious, to a samsarin, she is apara. And for a yogi who's completely focused on supreme consciousness, she is para. So there are several perspectives of this. The fact that this is, para is the knowledge of the self, jnana, and apara is the knowledge of vijnana. We covered this name earlier. Vijnana, Om, the name of Devi, where she is referred to as Vijnana, which is mantra 651, where she is referred to in the form of Vijnana. So, in this particular name, what this particular name means is that Om Vijnatri, that is what this particular name, Vijnatri, the name of Devi. So, she is referred to as both Jnana as well as Vijnana. Yeah. So, because every knowledge is referred to as Brahman, therefore Jnana and Vijnana are both referred to as is Devi. Brahman is both Jnana and Vijnana, both para and apara. Then, if you remember, we also had this, the forms of worship of, which we have covered this before. This explanation was covered before. We had the para worship, which is absolute non-duality, Advaita, in which there is no physical ritual, no external idols, no flowers, no offerings. So the worshipper recognizes that pure consciousness cannot be distinguished or separated from the divine. So the way this prayer happens is through silent meditation. And the parapara worship, which is the mixed worship, is where the worshipper transitions between seeing the divine as separate and seeing the divine within. So we have mental visualization, we have the mantra recitation, and the subtle energy contemplation. So there is a mix of the two. And apara is what we are doing now, which is traditional external ritualism, where you give a stula sharira to Devi, and on the basis of that, you have physical objects, temples, idols, fire rituals, food offerings, and vocal prayers. So this is the apara form of worship. So Devi is para, apara, and parapara. So all the three forms of worship Devi is considered. That is why she is called as Para. Yeah. Then you have Homam. The Homams also, there are two types. One is the Para Homam and the Apara Homam. The Para Homam, you do that in your mind, where there are no external physical objects. The Apara Homam is done externally with an actual fire. So these are the two different forms of Homam. So this is the different versions or different aspects of the name Om Para Paraye Namaha. Then 791 Om Satya Jnanananda Rupaye Namaha. That name is very simple. Satya Jnana Ananda Rupa. Satya, which is truth, Jnana, which is knowledge, and Ananda, which is bliss. So Brahman is truth, knowledge, and bliss. And what is Brahman? Brahman is Devi. Devi is that particular Brahman. Now you can again split that name in several ways. Instead of calling it Satya Jnanananda Rupaye Namaha, you can say Sati Ajna Anananda. Sati Ajna Anananda Rupa, which basically means that she who gives, or which is she who gives, which is called Rupa, sorrow or pain, which is Anananda, to those who are ignorant, Ajna, of true wisdom, Sati. So the whole meaning is the same concept of neti, negation in this particular case. What this means is that she gives sorrow or pain to those who are ignorant of true wisdom. That is what we have just covered, which is Sati Ajna Anananda Rupa. So that is what, if you split it in that particular form, Sati can be Sati Devi, which is another form of Devi. What this ultimately means is that she gives pain to those who are ignorant of her true form. So we should learn to recognize the true form of Devi. So Jnanis get wisdom, the ignorant get only pain in the real world. So Jnanis get wisdom, ignorant, and the ignorant people get only pain. 792 Om Samarasya Parayanaye Namaha. Samarasya Parayanaye Namaha. So Samarasya means equilibrium. Parayana, which means devoted to or absorbed into. So this Samarasya basically is a state of equanimity or steady wisdom. It is also called as Sthita Prajna, and that is Samarasa, and Samarasya pertains to that particular condition of equanimity. So in this case, the mind does not lose its balance, whatever the condition. Very difficult situation, very difficult for all of us in all our lives. It is very difficult to have that complete state of equanimity, whether it is happiness or sorrow, or whether it is profit or loss, in victory or defeat. We always react, and somebody, because why is it? Because we are always looking at an external perspective. The external perspective influences our internal condition. So when the external perspective influences our internal condition, the state of equanimity is not present with us. It is like turning around and saying that my remote control is with somebody else. When my remote control is with somebody else, if that person says jump, I will jump. That person says sit down, I will sit down. That person says stand, I will stand. So my remote control is with somebody else. Therefore, I am not in control of myself. For me to be in control of myself, that is when I will have a state of complete equanimity. He whose mind is not shaken by adversity, and he who in prosperity does not pursue pleasures, who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady wisdom. This is what the Bhagavad Gita says. Devi is one who is immersed in that state of steady wisdom. Now, that state of steady wisdom or the state of equanimity is also when Shiva and Shakti come together, because they are completely inseparable. Shiva and Shakti are completely inseparable. There is a further perspective of Samarasya, which is Samarasya Parayana. That Sama refers to the Sama Veda. So they say that Devi is devoted to the enjoyment of songs of the Sama Veda. This is a further perspective. Now there is, the final perspective is that Devi is the harmony of all diversities. There are different diversities that are there in the world today. So Devi brings together all these diversities together, and she is the harmony of all these diversities. 793. We've got only two more after this. Om Kapardinyai Namaha. She who is the wife of Shiva. So the word Kaparda refers to matted or knotted locks of hair. Refers to the matted or knotted locks of hair. So Kaparda refers to that. Kapardin is Shiva. Kapardin is referring to Shiva. So she is Kapardini, and therefore she is the wife of Shiva who has knotted or matted hair. So that is the perspective. Now there is a further aspect of this where the word Kapardini is referred to as Kapa plus Ardha, where this means mother and praise. The word Kapa refers to mother and Ardha refers to praise. So Kapardini is the mother of, she is called as Mother Earth, and she is the object of praise. So these are the other perspectives of this particular name. Now there is a text called the Vishwatika, where the word Kaparda means cow dung cakes. It refers to cow dung cakes, which is called as Varatika. These are the cow dung cakes. And what the story is that when Shiva took the form of Mailara, Devi incarnated as Mahalasa and as his wife, and she wore a garland of cow dung cakes. So Devi was given the name Kapardini. So that was another perspective. 794. Om Kalamalaye Namaha. So if you remember the earlier name, Chatushashti Kalamayai Namaha. So she is the Devi who is responsible for all the 64 kalas. She wears all 64 forms of art as a garland, going back to the fact that everybody has an inherent kala within them. Please don't think that you don't have that kala. Somewhere, there is an amsha of Devi within all of us. That amsha of Devi is manifesting itself as a kala. So that is the perspective where Devi talks of 64 forms of art. She wears these 64 forms of kala as a garland. So Devi is the inner shining aspect of all these arts. Now there is a further perspective which was given by Bhaskaracharya or Bhaskararaya, saying that she possesses the beauty, kala of lightning, which is the word mala has been split as ma and la. La is the person who possesses, and ma is referring to lightning. So when you're praying to Devi, when you are you're involved in Devi Upasana, the presence of Devi is felt as flashes of lightning. So that is what this is referring to. The presence of Devi, Devi's darshan often comes as flashes of lightning. So Kala refers also to the phases of moon or the cycles of time. So she binds time, space and all energies into a cosmic garland. So this is the other perspective of Kalamalaye Namaha. 795. Om Kama Dukhe Namaha. Om Kama Dukhe Namaha. So this is she is the person who fulfills all desires. Duk refers to milking or yielding. So she is the person who fulfills all desires just through the flow of milk of her grace, just as the celestial wish fulfilling cow Kamadhenu. Just like Kamadhenu, she fulfills all the wishes of all the devotees through the flow of milk of her divine grace. So that is what this is referring to. Om Kama Dukhe Namaha. So this covers the names for today. I offer these names at the lotus feet of Lalitha Tripura Sundari Devi. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Om Lokaha Samastaha Sugino Bhavantu Lokaha Samastaha Sugino Bhavantu Lokaha Samastaha Sugino Bhavantu Om Shanti 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 Karacharanakratam va kayajam karmajam va shravananayajam va manasam va paradam vidam avidam va sarvamedakshmasva Jaya Jaya Karunabde Shri Mahadeva Shambho Jaya Jaya Karunabde Shri Mahadeva Shambho Jaya Jaya Karunabde Shri Mahadeva Shambho Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om